Those in favour say aye. Aye. And against, carried. Next item up is the level crossing removal program update. So Jane, welcome, and just Jane's last week at Auckland Transport this week before she relocates to sunny Bay of Plenty. So thank you, Jane, for everything you've done in your time at AT, a few roles. So thanks very much, and enjoy the Mount and Tauranga.
Thank you, Councillor Baker, and I am just commuting because I'm keeping a foot in Auckland, so thank you. So we're here to present on level crossings. First of all, I'd like to introduce Tom Willits, who's with me today, and he's going to largely take you through the presentation. Tom is our Head of Level Crossings, and he is all over the level crossings program. So the reason we're here today is that last year Council approved funding to progress the level crossing removal program. And a condition of that funding was that we'd come back to the committee to report on how the program was achieving value for money and the way that we're ensuring urban outcomes are progressing alongside the transport outcomes. So just to remind councillors, the program is made up of a number of projects. So there are the level crossings that have been closed over the last 2 years. That's those that were required to be closed prior to CRL Day 1. And then there are the 3 station access bridges that are being provided again prior to CRL. The funding that was received was for the Takanini Road bridges, and then there is the further business case work that is progressing for the Western Line removals. So just to give you a bit of an update around what we've done in the year since we so I'll just put that up there, just what we've done in the year since you provided the funding. So we've designed and consulted the public, and we've also made significant construction progress with some cost savings that Tom will outline on the 3 station access bridges. And they're on track to open mid this year. And that will mean that there'll be no pedestrian level crossings on the southern and eastern lines north of Papakura once they're closed. With the Takanini Road bridges, we've now updated the concept designs, and we've also acquired a number of properties, and we're on track for a construction start in 2027 with a constructor almost on board. And then we've also begun the essential planning work for the Western Line level crossings, and that's included multiple meetings with councillors. Many of you have we've met with local boards, freight and businesses. And we have now the funding for the investment case and the route protection, and that's going to accelerate the progress. So I'm going to hand over to Tom just to talk in more detail around the program, and then to take you through some of the cost savings and also the progress.
Thanks, Jane. Morena, tēnā koutou katoa. First, a reminder on what the program consists of. To date, there are 39 level crossings remaining across the rail network, and as we've spoken about in the previous session with my colleagues from CRL and Kiwi Rail, we need to remove the level crossings to unlock more frequent trains to make the most out of the rail network and to keep Tāmaki Makaurau moving from a road network traffic perspective. As well as those 2 network benefits, removing the crossings will provide significant safety improvements, and it also supports the urban regeneration, development and integration within the city, particularly on the Western Line, which we've spoken a lot about this morning. So you can see the locations of the level crossings on the plan there. There are the first tranche of work, which Jane has mentioned, with the funding was brought forward early last year, consists of the priorities on the Southern Line, which includes the station access bridges currently under construction, and then the road crossings just north of Papakura in the Takanini area. Just noting that our next priority or next focus area is the Western Line. As we've mentioned, we'll be progressing the business case throughout the course of this year, particularly focusing on the Inner West, but we are taking a program-wide approach. So we're taking the whole of line into consideration during the development of that business case, and to prioritise the crossings accordingly. Bit more detail on progress in relation to the Takanini and Glen Innes schedule. So you can see on the plan there, essentially we've made really good progress on the station access bridges. They are due to be operational with the new lift shafts and pedestrian bridges by the middle of this year. From a road bridges perspective, we are well developed in the concept design. That's due to be complete in the coming weeks, at which point we will be consulting with the public to get their feedback on our proposals, with due to complete the reference design and lodge for consents towards the end of this calendar year. So this slide again provides a bit of a closer look at the locations of the Takanini cluster, just confirming that the road bridge crossings which are numbered in orange there, 1 to 5, are currently in the design phase, and the 3 station access bridges, one of which is shown there at Takanini train station, are well into construction. One of the challenges set to us as a programme team in bringing the funding forward to us to make the best use of the block of lines ahead of City Rail Link opening later on this year. And this data provides an overview of what we were able to achieve, predominantly over the Christmas block of line there. So working in collaboration with Kiwi Rail and CRL requirements. I won't go through all of those numbers, but essentially we were able to complete 100% of the planned works. We had over 200 staff on site. We were able to construct 3 bridge columns, 4 lift shaft structures completed, and as is the goal for the programme, we were able to remove 2 pedestrian level crossings during that block of line. So we were able to make great progress and really make the use of those pre-CRL blocks. From a road bridges perspective, as I've mentioned, we have our design consultancy and we also have our constructor on board as well to provide early contractor input during the design phase to really help make the most efficient design for construction. We are underway on site in terms of site investigations to understand where our utilities are and undertake other ground topographical investigations, etc. And as I've mentioned, we're due for public engagement once that concept design concludes, kind of mid-April onwards. Property acquisition is going really well within the area as well, and James provided an overview of that at the introduction of the session. So what I wanted to touch on next is how we've been able to achieve value for money and make these crossings more affordable. I've got something to report back on the station access bridges, which, as we said, are well into construction. So we are currently forecasting savings of between $9 and $15 million against our funded budget of $92 million. And we've been able to achieve that through using modular design, precast elements, which means a lot of the work that can be done off-site and brought into position, making best use of the pre-CRL track access. Again, that early contractor involvement during the design phase has made for the most efficient and cost-effective design. We have a strong client-led team as well, which are able to closely manage design and contractors in order to deliver the works efficiently. And we also have independent estimators, so we're able to assess the costs regularly throughout the design at different stage gates. I would note as well there is cross-organisation governance associated with the programme, which includes representatives from AT, Auckland Council and Kiwi Rail, which has helped us make some key decisions. So I won't go through all of these, but I just wanted to demonstrate that some of those mitigations are really closely aligned with the Auckland Council's Better Value Project principles, as you can see up there at the top of the slide, use of standard designs, managing consultancy and consultation costs, etc. Our challenge now is to bring those concepts through into the rest of the scheme, and we will continue to do that and build momentum into the road bridges project and again over to the Western Line. So we have developed the 6 strategic objectives there, which you can see on the bottom of the slide, which are aligned with the investment objectives, but also the council's and AT's statement of intent and what we want to achieve from the project. One thing of particular note is that network strategic objective. So the overall aim of the programme is to enhance the reliability, accessibility and efficiency of the transport network. We need to do that for the final scheme, but we also need to do it throughout construction as well. In terms of urban integration, that is a key consideration for us. I'm not sure why it skipped ahead then, but I'll just jump back. So I think as we've mentioned, particularly on the Western Line, there's a real opportunity for the level crossing replacements to align with urban intensification and regeneration within the area. There are, as you can see by the dots denoted on the plan there, due to Plan Change 120, some real opportunities to align what we're doing with the objectives to intensify the urban realm and increase the number of houses in close proximity to public transport. There's a couple of scenarios there. Again, I won't go through these in great detail. On the left there, you've got the existing scenario. If we were to grade separate the crossings, you can kind of get an indication of the footprint and the lands that might be required to do that in that central image. And then the right-hand image provides a road closure scenario with a pedestrian or active mode bridge, which spans the rail network. And it just gives an identification of the potential urban intensification or opportunities around the replacement of these crossings. So how are we going to achieve that? We have set up an urban integration working group, which is represented by Auckland Transport, Technical Urban Expertise and the Urban Design Office, and those partners are represented again throughout our governance structure. We are working very closely with the Urban Design Office. They have provided their priorities across the network, so that enables us to align with those from a transport perspective. And that thinking is both the Takanini and the Western Line, so we're taking a programme-wide approach. One particular example that I wanted to show of how this is coming into fruition. So at Takanini, this is the new Manuia road bridge that we're looking to construct as part of the scheme. The original design had embankments which are shown in the shaded purple area on the top right hand image. Through the design process and working with the design office, we have opted to use retaining walls, which significantly increases the residual land that's available adjacent to the road bridges. So yeah, again, providing more usable land post implementation of the scheme. From a Western Line perspective, we are being notified about future resource consents and property acquisitions. So in the future, we are able to act upon those if necessary. Obviously, the Western Line has been a key focus of interest for the group today, and it is a high priority for us. There are 21 level crossings remaining on the Western Line. The little pink dots there are crossings that have been removed prior to CRL to enable CRL to operate. And as James mentioned, we have acquired the funding to progress the investment cases and route protection for these schemes along the Western Line. So we've got real momentum now, and we'll be looking to progress at pace throughout the course of this year and future years. I'm not going to go into all of these benefits. I think a lot of this information has been shared before, but just a reminder, there will be a number of trade-offs that we'll have to consider as part of the Western Line, essentially to grade separate each one of those level crossings. We're within the order of $5 billion, which is like to be unaffordable. To close them all is obviously at the lower end of the scale, but causes significant unacceptable traffic disruption. So we'll be looking for a balanced approach of separating the strategic road crossings and pedestrian crossings, and we're looking within the order of $2.5 to $3 billion for the whole programme along the Western Line. So it will be key for us to consult and to work alongside council and councillors in order to make those decisions and agree what those trade-offs might be. So throughout the course of this year, we will be coming back to this forum. We are adopting the NZTA decision-led approach. So some of those key strategic decisions, such as emerging preferred options, will come back to this forum for a decision. Bit more detail on the steps that we'll be taking throughout the course of this year. We have a lot of evidence, but we need to conclude that evidence in order to confirm those preferred solutions, which will then allow us to designate the land requirements and progress into design and build. We are aiming for an initial draft business case planned for the fourth quarter of this calendar year, 2026. Initially, and we have had initial conversations with a number of people, councillors around the room, so we're in a process of raising awareness for the programme, understanding the trade-offs and the challenges. We're out in the community at the moment, speaking with mana whenua at key public events, Lantern Festival, Pacifica, etc. And that will roll out into more involved public engagement throughout the course of April and May, aiming for late 2026 to have the preferred options for our first crossings and emerging options for the more complicated crossings to inform that business case due by the end of this calendar year. And that's it from me. Hopefully that provides a good update, and we'll open it up for questions.
Good work, Tom. Thank you. So first question, To.
Kia ora. Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions. I'm worrying about the figures that are popping out of this presentation between 2 and 5 and 5 and $10 billion. So just put that up in the back of your head here. And my questions are not only who pays, what's KiwiRail's contribution to the exercise, and in terms of the Western Line, are we only looking at maybes, not what is going to happen? I mean, has it been approved yet, or who's giving the approval? Is it council? Is it government? Is it KiwiRail? Blah 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 blah. Those sorts of questions.
So the first question around KiwiRail contribution, at this stage for the Western Line, the funding model or the funding would need to be worked through, but in all likelihood it will be a Crown local share, shared in the normal way that these types of transport projects are. But obviously KiwiRail is working alongside Auckland Transport, and it will be Auckland Council in terms of the works that are required within their corridor to support this. In terms of is it a maybe, at this stage on the Western Line, it is the, so as part of the program business case that was prepared for rail, the level crossings that required closure were identified, and this is the further investment work to understand in more detail, so the funding has been received for that, in more detail which level crossings and the sequence in which you may do it, and have some greater understanding of what the costs would be and the impacts would be on that line. There is no funding at present to deliver any of the closures.
Thank you. Desley.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, To, I'm listening to that as well. First, thank you for your value for money statements and explanation around that. That gives me a lot of confidence too. But I suppose that, following on from Toe, my big question is, with the CRL opening this year, are we confident that the level crossing program will be able to move at sufficient pace to safely allow the expansion of numbers and train frequencies over the next decade without coming across regulatory hurdles? For example, do we think that we can sort out the critical crossings before the rail regulatory says, no, you can't put on more services because it wouldn't be safe? Or is that simply dependent on getting the necessary funding at the right time? That's a big risk.
Thanks, Leslie. Councillor Simpson. In response to that, we are well progressed with all of the requirements needed for pre-CRL day one. There are only relatively minor works left to be completed, and they are well on course to be completed by the middle of this year, giving sufficient flow for the operation of CRL. So we have a high level of confidence that they will be delivered. It's a very low risk.
And perhaps if I can answer the second part of the question in relation to the progressive closures as we move forward. In terms of the program delivery, so the first answer to the question is that the current barrier arm downtimes will remain the same as they are for when CRL opens on the Western Line. So there is the barrier downtime will remain the same. In terms of the program, there would need to be funding that would be delivered so that these could be delivered in line with the timetables as they progress. But we at present, the progressive increase of trains is aligned with the timetable for the future delivery, but subject to further funding being received to enable that to occur as it moves forward.
The planning's concurrent, that's what you're saying.
The plan is concurrent, yes, and so we're working towards that. Yes, but as I say, there would need to be progressive funding delivered for the further Western Line work.
Shane.
Thank you. There's been a couple of questions around it. I just want to drill a fine point to this. So how much funding from central government has been announced for the Southern Line, and how much funding has been announced so far for the Western Line?
I would have to come back to you on the specific details around that. There is funding that has been brought forward for the Southern Line, and there is further funding, but I can come back to you, Councillor, on the exact numbers.
Okay, but have the government committed to the Western Line and put any funding behind it yet?
In terms of the delivery of it, not at this point.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Daniel.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Coming back to the Southern Line, and I'm very pleased with the work that's taken place to date. The slide where you're talking about the maximising residual land opportunities, and you referred to the example at Oakley Ave. I mean, the officers have talked with Councillor Winiata and I about quite a lot of this, which has been really helpful. The decision with respect to the embankments going is quite a statement, because that appears to have been, is that a more settled argument than just a proposal? Because whilst I can see the value of the savings by giving up on the embankment option and just going to the hard retaining wall, there are some urban design implications for that. So is this a settled argument on a value for money discussion, or is it just a proposal that's up for further consideration?
Thanks, Councillor. Great question. I think everything at this stage is subject to consultation. So we have essentially used that as a working assumption to bring into our concept design. That will follow public consultation and engagement with local boards, councillors, etc., to really get that feedback and help refine the concept design for us to take forward into the next design phase. So no, I wouldn't suggest that's hard and fast. I guess from a project perspective, we believe that it's a good opportunity to progress and improves the value of the land and the residual land that solution provides. But yeah, we do need to seek input from public and other key stakeholders before it's locked in.
Okay, so I sort of feel like I'm channeling former Councillor Darby here. So if we're talking about that as an example, and we're going to have a discussion with the public on that very shortly, are we looking at, for example, design features to try and mitigate that? For example, planting right on the wall edge around the retaining wall to reduce that hard effect. Noting that the embankment was a softer option, albeit taking more land. I mean, do we have those renders available yet for that consultation to give some hope that we're not? I mean, it would look like a great big prism, that bridge right next to the developments around it.
Again, I think this is where our relationship with the Urban Design Office and our urban planners come in. There have been some really good examples of us being able to uplift the aesthetics, shall we say, of retaining wall structures that we would look to bring into this design. We're not at a point yet where we have renders available of what that might look like, but we can provide other examples that have been used in other locations as part of that consultation to inform the decision.
Okay, and with respect to, I mean, great work on the pedestrian access bridges at Takanini and Timahia. Just with respect to Timahia, land access from the eastern side. Sorry, can you just give briefly how is that going at the moment?
So this is from
the western side from Great South Road. I know that it's a difficult station because of the constrained access from either side. But sorry, can you just refresh me in terms of the work on the eastern side access?
So the eastern side being Ferguson Street side.
Yeah.
So that is currently closed due to the construction works, and we have replacement transport in place for passengers that need to make their way to the other side, because as I'm sure you're aware, it was quite a thoroughfare to get to Great South Road. But that access will be opened up as part of the works finishing in the middle of this year. So we're currently constructing the lift shaft in that location. We'll use the upcoming pre-CRL block of lines to complete the works in undertake the final lifts for the bridge structure, etc., to open up that access as soon as possible.
Okay, my one final question. Thank you, Chair, for indulging me on this. But with respect to the forward works for the vehicle access bridges, has the Papakura Local Board been advised yet on the revised route that you're looking for in relation to Turanui and Walters, and also to the question around whether we actually proceed with or drop the access bridge at Spartan?
So the local board has had those options presented to it, but we have not submitted for a formal resolution because that will follow the public consultation. So on each one of those three aspects, that would form part of our consultation, and then we would present the resolution back to the local board for a final decision. Having had that.
Right, Chair. Chair, I'm not going to speak to this item later, but just to say to the officers, thank you very much for the work to date, and I strongly support the proposed approach at Turanui Walters, and also to the officers are aware of my views in relation to Spartan. Thank you.
Thank you, and just heads up, I'm intending to go to lunch at 12:30 or at the end of this item, whatever comes first. So, Mike, last question.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the focus on achieving value for money. Obviously, this is going to be needed. Also, congratulations on AT moving ahead with a bridge approach for Takanini rather than a tunnel approach. I think the original plan was for a tunnel or tunnels, and the people in the local community pushed back. And while I was still a director of AT, I was quite happy to support the bridge approach. In terms of value for money, I take the point raised by Councillor Filipina in terms of the costs for the Western Line, the projected costs. We are talking about here something equating to building the CRL itself. Presently, we've got over $500 million dedicated for the Southern Line, or parts of it, and it's budgeted as a rail project. But essentially, when you think about it, these level crossings are every bit related to roadworks rather than rail works. In fact, you could argue that they benefit cars and vehicle traffic rather than trains. We often used to hear about bus priority in the city. I'm quite surprised, given the cost we're looking at, that there seems to be no consideration about at least experimenting or modelling increasing the downtime of the bar downtime at level crossings to see how that works in terms of train slots. So the question, I guess, is why, or let's put it this way, has AT investigated the merits of extending barrier downtime on these level crossings in terms of enabling greater productivity for train movements?
So in terms of the Western Line, all aspects will be considered as part of the business case. At this point, those investigations, as I said, are commencing.
So just to confirm that, so there's been no modelling at all on the impacts of extending or indeed decreasing barrier downtime at all. Is that right?
So the program business case for rail looked at a high level at all options. And as I said, the investigations moving forward will look at all of those options to consider from a value for money perspective and an efficiency perspective across all modes, and from a safety perspective, what is best or what would work for the Western Line.
Sure. I just want to make one final point here. I'm a little bit concerned, given the controversy that's arisen around services on the Western Line, that we don't know, as decision makers, the merits or the details of the impact of barrier time on traffic flows and on train movements. I think that should have been key information in relation to the CRL, and as I said, given the controversy, it may be helpful that it is feasible to alter the barrier times to enable more train movements on the Western Line, rather than looking at, $2 to $5 billion of capex and the rest, I guess.
So I think there's probably two slightly different questions there, Councillor. The first in relation to whether modelling has been done for CRL around barrier downtimes and train frequency and impacts on the network. The work has been completed and has been looked at. The question around the spending of, or the estimated cost of the 2.5 billion and how that might be worked alongside the barrier downtimes and timetables, that is part of the business case work that is being completed for the Western Line.
Can we have that information, please? On the barrier downtime.
I'm sure I will speak back with the colleagues and make sure that if that's available, it will be provided to you.
Follow up, thank you.
Maggie.
Kia ora, tūtahi tēnei te mihi ki a koe for this presentation. I'm particularly interested in the public engagement part, mention of mana whenua. How are you enabling tangata whenua narratives and cultural expression to be incorporated in the design outcomes?
Thank you for the question. It is a key outcome for us. So as well as the urban working group and rail working groups, we also have kaitiaki forums. Mana whenua working groups. We have a well-established forum where we're working closely with the local iwi on the Southern Line, so those associated with the Takanini road crossings and station access bridges, and we are just establishing that forum for the Western Line as well. Our goal is to bring those outcomes through into the business case, so that they can be developed right the way through the design phase and into construction. It does lend and is part of our communities and partners strategic objective that I showed on the slides previously. So yeah, there are, we will be targeting key performance indicators and making sure that we meet the requirements of AT's and council's statement of intent and business plan in that regard. Just last week, or was it the week before, we held a cultural induction for the whole team down at Takanini, where we encouraged our whole program team, but also our suppliers to attend as well, so that everyone has a good understanding and we can build it mana whenua outcomes into what we do.
Okay, thank you both. No more questions, so you can step back. Is someone like to move? Thanks, Richard. Second. Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? None? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. And against, carried. And at 12:27, ahead of the 12:30 break, we will break for lunch. I'm aware that